Some films have an oddly long journey to the big screen, and Cry Macho is one of Hollywood's most winding tales. What ultimately became Clint Eastwood's 2021 movie was decades in the making, filled with twists that could rival the story on screen, including its initially intended star, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Although Schwarzenegger was once announced as the lead, personal and political issues derailed his involvement, and it wasn't until Eastwood himself took on the role decades later that the movie finally made it to theaters. A journey through decades. The origins of Cry Macho date back to the 1970s when Richard Nash first wrote the screenplay. Despite being rejected twice by 20th Century Fox, Nash refused to give up. Instead of walking away, he turned the story into a novel, which achieved success in 1975. Ironically, Nash was able to sell the same rejected screenplay back to Hollywood, this time finding an eager studio ready to back it. Clint Eastwood's connection to the project began in 1988 when producer Albert S. Ruddy approached him to star. At the time, however, Eastwood was ready to step back into his iconic role as Dirty Harry, starring in The Dead Pool, a decision that delayed Cry Macho's development for several decades. By the early 1990s, Cry Macho found itself, once again, at a crossroads. Roy Scheider attempted to bring the movie to life in 1991, but the project fell apart during production in Mexico. Yet the most intriguing period in the film's troubled production history occurred in 2003. That year, Arnold Schwarzenegger, at a career turning point, had to choose between a Westworld remake and Cry Macho. Ultimately, the Austrian-born action star chose Cry Macho, though politics interfered. After Schwarzenegger's successful recall election in California, the project was delayed indefinitely. From Schwarzenegger to Eastwood. Fast forward to 2011, and Schwarzenegger was once again attached to Cry Macho, with filming set to start after his gubernatorial term. This time, however, disaster struck in the form of a high-profile scandal. In May 2011, reports of his affair with longtime housekeeper Mildred Patricia Baena rocked Schwarzenegger's personal and professional world. The fallout from this scandal caused the actor to step away from the project, postponing its production once again. Cry Macho languished in development for nearly a decade before Clint Eastwood, at the age of 91, decided to take matters into his own hands. Eastwood, who had been involved with the project since its inception, directed and starred in the final iteration of the film, closing a long chapter of Hollywood history. A shaky final product. Unfortunately, despite the decades-long journey, Cry Macho did not land with a bang at the box office. The film follows Mike Milo, a disillusioned former rodeo star, as he embarks on a mission to retrieve his ex-boss's son from Mexico. However, the execution felt underwhelming, with slow pacing, weak dialogue, and some odd casting choices leading to credibility issues. Eastwood's role as Milo, a character too spry for his age, left many fans and critics questioning the believability of the story. A key issue in the movie is Eastwood's character's inexplicably romantic attention from much younger women, which feels less like a genuine plot point and more like a stretch. As for the chemistry between Milo and the young Mexican boy, Rafo, it falters due to a stilted performance by Eduardo Minette. While there are redeeming moments in the film, especially in the visual shots that showcase Eastwood's directorial mastery, the film ultimately struggles to find a coherent tone. Is it supposed to be a western, a road movie, or a comedy? The story tries to blend all three but doesn't quite succeed in establishing itself as anything memorable. Cry Macho symbolism for Hollywood's winding roads. The journey of Cry Macho speaks to the unpredictable nature of filmmaking and how, sometimes, projects just aren't meant to happen. From early rejections to troubled productions, it took almost 50 years for the movie to reach the screen. While Eastwood's involvement marked the full-circle conclusion of its long development history, the film's mixed reception suggests that it might have been better off staying on the page, where its promise could have lived without the weight of such a convoluted history. Eastwood's triumphant return, Juror Number 2. On a more positive note, Clint Eastwood found his stride again with his gripping legal thriller Juror Number 2, released in November 2024. The film received praise for its intensity and its efficient storytelling. Starring Nicholas Hoult, The film follows a juror who faces a moral dilemma involving his potential unknowing involvement in a high-profile murder case. Eastwood's comeback in Juror Number 2 proves he still has the chops to create stirring films that pack a punch with fewer distractions and more focus on craft.